So Apple's Wanderlust event was last night. In it, they shared the new Apple Watches and iPhone 15 models. We held a bit of a watch-along event on our Discord, and there were some great comments from our community, very interesting stuff. I also wanted to hear what Carl thought about the event. I gave him a ring, and this is what he had to say. Hey Carl.
Hey, how's it going?
What's your opinion on the fact that these events are now pre-recorded? Do you kind of miss the days where it was a live auditorium-based keynote?
It feels way better when it's in real life and not pre-recorded. Like some of these magical moments in the past where, for instance, when Steve Jobs was announcing the iPod, he was talking about the product, how small it was, and then he just pulls it out of his pocket. Everybody goes crazy. Or when Apple announced the MacBook Air, it was really, really thin, and then it was there all alone on the table in a manila envelope, and he just brought it out. So I think those showmanship moments don't really work when it's pre-recorded.
So let's talk about the iPhones. Obviously the biggest piece of news is that USB-C has finally made its way over to iPhones. What's your kind of immediate take on this change?
Overall, it's a win for the tech ecosystem, but I just hope that the EU goes one step further and just really homogenizes USB-C standard.
And obviously a lot of their product lineup has been using USB-C for a long time. What do you think made them, take so long on getting the iPhone to catch up?
It's purely to protect the iPhone. It's to protect themselves from iPhone users having an easy time going to another device. Apart from the USB or Lightning cable, they also have a lot of other areas in which I feel they're being anti-competitive, but there's a lot of things that only work with Apple products, AirDrop, etc. And this is not a secret. Like in the leaked emails from different lawsuits, you can see their executives emailing each other about it. How do we protect ourselves so that Apple products work better with Apple products? It's purely because of that. Again, I get it from a business perspective. It's clever, it reduces competition, but I think as the most valuable tech company in the world, you should be able to compete on other things.
Okay, moving on. So another thing that they announced was a new titanium finish for the Pro models. Is there actually anything to be excited about here, or is titanium really just a new material / finish?
It's a new material / finish, but I think it has benefits in terms of the weight and the durability. If you ask a tech fan like me, I'm pretty excited about it. If you ask a normal consumer and you give them a product with titanium versus steel or aluminum, I think it's going to be really hard to tell the difference.
Yeah, I've heard that the weight difference is going to be the most significant kind of thing that a consumer might notice.
But it's cool, right? Because they're just constantly refining and improving all aspects of the iPhone slowly. So respect to them for that.
So on the Pro models, they've also implemented a new action button, which replaces the mute switch. We've had some mixed reactions on the Discord, but what's your take on it?
I think this customizable button is not a new thing for smartphones. They most likely seen that in their usage data, not a lot of people use the current switch. And I think they're also planning for the future. I think if you look at the new Apple Watch, correct me if I'm wrong, but Siri now works locally instead of needing to pull from the cloud. I think that's a huge advancement. I think Apple, they're seeing all the changes happening in large language models in AI, and I guess that this action button is a preparation for that. Maybe it's like it will be a shortcut to a Super Siri in the future.
And on the topic of cameras, the Pro model is said to have 7 total lenses, including a new telephoto camera. You're on record saying that you really like iPhone cameras, so how is it that they're able to keep innovating on what's already a good product?
They invest a lot of resource into camera. If you study the smartphone consumer and their use for the smartphone, camera is usually up there. It's like one of the top 1 or top 2 features for any smartphone, so it makes sense. But the reason why they're able to innovate is because they're investing resource.
They also managed to shoehorn in a reference to the Vision Pro. What's your opinion on this?
I think it's great that Apple is innovating. It gets harder and harder to innovate and take risks as you become bigger as a company. So I think it's great that they're trying something. I don't think the Vision Pro is gonna take us from smartphones to permanently having something on our heads for a couple of hours every single day. But I think there's use cases where this tool can be really powerful. And if you talk about the metaverse or VR in general, I think productivity, like creation within VR, is a much better use case than gaming or social or anything else. So I think it makes sense, but it's not going to be a mass consumer category anytime soon.
One of the key ones was some upgrades to the Apple Watch series. We had the Apple Watch Series 9 and the Apple Watch Ultra 2. I think the biggest takeaway for me watching this was the announcement that some versions of the Apple Watch would be carbon neutral for the first time. Do you have any kind of thoughts on this?
I mean, we've been through a similar discovery phase in our journey. Sustainability was always really important for us. So it's something we started with at the beginning when we just started the company. What we did with the Ear One was that we tried our best to lower the carbon footprint from the product itself. from the materials we source to how we manufacture, to the type of energy we use. Tried to use cleaner energy that was carbon neutral to start with. But it's a physical product, right? There has to be some carbon footprint. And what you can do is then offset that. So basically what happens is that there's other organizations out there who are planting trees or doing stuff that removes carbon from the atmosphere. And then they will sell you their credits because they created a surplus of removing carbon from the atmosphere. You can then buy it from them. I think that's what Apple did. That's also what we did for the Ear 1. So Ear 1 was also carbon neutral. But then as I started thinking about it, this felt kind of fake. Like you don't have to work very hard on the product. You just have to pay and then your product is carbon neutral. So we decided to scrap that with the phone 2 and the phone 1 actually. And there we chose to focus more on the materials. How can we use more and more recycled materials in the product? I think that really impacts the world much more than buying carbon credits. I'm not saying Apple doesn't do that. I think they're doing both, but I find this carbon neutral thing a little bit fake for my taste.
So let's talk about the Apple Watch Ultra 2. Give us your opinion on how many people you think buy this product.
I actually have a lot of friends around me who bought this product, but I'm not sure how popular it is overall. I think the product was defined for this kind of outdoor scenario or extreme sports scenario, but a lot of people buy it because it's the most expensive one and it's more like a status symbol, or like if I buy something, I have to buy the most expensive version. So therefore, I can show that I'm different than everybody else.
I just wanted to ask you about this as well. Previously, you've mentioned that you're not the biggest fan of smartwatches as a whole. I wonder if you can give us a bit of insight into whether that's still true or whether that's changed.
It's still true. I mean, maybe it's just me, but I'm quite busy and I get a lot of notifications, all types of chat apps and messaging apps and emails. One of the key features of the smartwatch is to show you more notifications. So I don't think it's a need for me, but I understand there's people out there who like a smartwatch. I think as technology develops, it should serve people by removing complexity from people's lives and not add more complexity. And therefore, I'm not a huge fan of the category as a whole.
A few weeks ago on the community, some people spotted on your Instagram story that you were wearing a Whoop band. Have you been testing out other wearables?
I've worn the Oura Ring, the Whoop band. I personally think that these are slightly better form factors because they're not in the way. Like when you need information, you can open an app to get the information. But I think there's, all types of different users and different users have different needs.
Given everything that we've covered today, how do you think that Apple's latest event kind of reflects the overall tech space at this moment in time?
It's the same. It's boring. I didn't watch the keynote. I checked on social media what was new. I think if you're an iPhone user and you need to upgrade your iPhone, if you had it for a couple of years, then by all means upgrade. It's better than before. It's similar, it does the same things, but a little bit better. All these tech companies are big, right? So when these tech companies were smaller, they were the ones leading the change. Now they're all big, so somebody else smaller has to come in and lead the change.
All right, thank you, Carl, for taking the time to share your thoughts on the latest Apple announcements. Always great to speak with you.
Thank you, Rob. Take care.
Cool, see you. This finally arrived.
Oh, nice.
Well, Carl, I'm gonna get a picture of you with this, if that's all right.
All right.
Let's get a good pose from you. 3, 2, 1. Amazing, thanks.